Hello everyone, we are once again at the end of another month. This is for the end of June 2026. Well, we're here at the end of July, but the stats are through the end of June 2026. And this is for Winter Haven, Florida. Winter Haven saw 88 closed sales this past June compared to 88 a year ago, so no change. Cash sales as a percentage of closed sales, 19.3% of all sales were cash sales compared to 21.6% a year ago, a decrease of 10.6%. Median sales price, $294,633 compared to $279,495. That's an increase of 5.4%. Average sales price, $293,524 compared to $285,067. That's an increase of 3%. Median percent original list price, 95.5%, are what sellers are receiving compared to 94.9% a year ago, an increase of 0.6%. Median time to contract, 46 days compared to 66 days a year ago, a decrease of 30.3%. Median time to sale, 96 days compared to 105 days, a decrease of 8.6%. New pending sales, 85 compared to 89 a year ago, a decrease of 4.5%. New listings, 116 compared to 98, an increase of 18.4%. Pending inventory, 124 compared to 133, a decrease of 6.8%. Active inventory, 405 homes are active in Winter Haven compared to 453 a year ago, a decrease of 10.6%. And month supply of inventory, 5.1 month supply of inventory compared to 5.3 month supply of inventory a year ago, a decrease of 3.8%. Tune in and we'll talk a little bit about what this means for you if you're looking to buy or sell a home in Winter Haven, Florida. So there are a few things that stuck out to me as we looked at the stats through the end of June 2026 at a halfway point of the year. Part of it is related to what you'll see a lot of doomsayers talking about the market is crashing. And I'm a believer in talking about facts and talking about the numbers and then interpreting those for you if I can. And the numbers just don't support the fact or the statement that the housing market is crashing. In fact, some of these numbers suggest otherwise. So, closed sales, there hasn't been much difference in closed sales in Polk County or Winter Haven. The biggest difference was Polk County saw a 1.6% drop. That's not really all that significant. Sales price in Polk County down 1% and 0.3% for average sales price. Winter Haven's actually up 5.4% and 3%. So, to me, a crash is where you start to see home prices really fall. I think it's really important, if you're in the market, to recognize what really is happening, and that is that we are in the middle of a market correction. What are we correcting from? We're correcting from the craziness of the pandemic housing market. If you remember, during the pandemic, homes sold in a couple days for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking. Appraisal contingency was waived, so people were bringing cash to the table. They were overpaying for houses. Home prices were going up, and people were seeing 20% return on investment year over year on their property, increases in equity. That just was not a sustainable market. That would never be a sustainable market, really. And since then, we've had a lot of factors affecting the real estate market. Most importantly, of course, would be mortgage rates being so high during the pandemic. You could get mortgage rates at 2.5%. Now they're at 6.75%. So there's a really big difference between those two numbers in terms of what it means for a payment. The biggest thing, I think, though, that's out there, and so in the end, what is the market doing? The market's correcting, it's not crashing. Even with Florida being number one in foreclosures in the country, we are not seeing the impact on the market and prices that we did back in 07, 08. And my broker has talked about it. He was an agent back then, and he talked about what the differences are between now and then. And there's just a lot of differences between those two markets. And I think it's important to realize that what is really impacting the real estate market right now is the mortgage rates. But on a bigger picture perspective, it's the inflation we've been dealing with really for the last several years. And just because the inflation numbers went down for a little while, there was still inflation. So prices of everyday items in general were still going up. And the reality is that incomes haven't been increasing at the rate of inflation. And so people have less money to spend on everything. And the war in Iran hasn't helped. I'm not being political about it, but we saw interest rates drop below 6% for a couple weeks. Then the war started and interest rates went back up over 6%, and now they're almost to 7%. And more importantly, the impact on gas prices. And when gas prices or oil prices are up, that means the cost of everything's up. So we're dealing with higher inflation again. And when that happens, particularly for big ticket items like cars and homes, buyers tend to sit on their hands and wait, just to make sure that they're still going to have a job, that they can afford the essentials. And so I do think there's a lot of pent-up demand for housing right now. There's a lot of buyers that want to get into the market, but they're not going to pull the trigger with so much uncertainty in the economy in the world right now, with gas prices and oil prices where they are right now. A lot of buyers are not going to pull the trigger. Now, that being said, there were still 1,241 closed sales in June. So there are still people buying and selling homes. What are they buying and selling? I think a lot of the sellers that I'm seeing are one of two types of sellers. One is someone that bought post-pandemic, so immediately after the pandemic. Maybe they took advantage of the builder incentives, the interest rate buy downs, the lower prices on new homes. And so they're in a new home community, and because the property value from year one, where you're taxed on the land as if it was vacant land, and year two, where you're taxed as if there's a home on the property because there is in fact a home on the property, that means your property taxes went up significantly. Just because the property value went up significantly. Homeowner insurance rates have been going up. And so those two factors, and maybe people bought with an interest rate buy down for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And those 2 or 3 years are starting to expire, those 3-1 buy downs. And so what's happening is, buyers that purchase those homes can no longer afford to make the payment because now they have to pay the prevailing interest rate. Their insurance rates went up and their property taxes went up. And so all of a sudden, the monthly payment they thought they were getting is gone. And so they're in a position where they need to sell. The challenge for those people is they don't have enough equity because from post-pandemic till now, housing prices have remained relatively stable. They haven't crashed, but they haven't gone up either, which means those people don't have any equity, and or not much equity, not enough to break even at the closing table. And so they're in a really difficult position, or maybe they can, but they have to sell at their list price in order to break even, which means if someone's negotiating with them, they have no room to negotiate. They don't have room for price drops. And so their houses are sitting, even though they're relatively brand new houses, and there's nothing wrong with them. So that's seller number one. Seller number two is someone that needs to sell to do a life change of some kind. And maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a birth, and so they need to upsize, maybe it's job relocation. Hopefully, if they bought pre-pandemic, they have enough equity that they can do what they need to in terms of price, because at the end of the day, price is what's mattering. There are buyers out there. Those buyers that are out there are actually very, very serious and very well qualified. The reason I say that is it is harder to qualify for a home right now because the margins in your income and your debt to income ratio are going to be much smaller because you're having to spend so much on everyday essentials. And so the buyers that are out there are very well qualified and are very serious because they're kind of ignoring some of the doom and gloom that's in the market and saying, no, it's right for me, it's the right time for me to buy. But that also means they can be picky. And then also those buyers are being frugal with their money, and so they're not going to overpay for a home. So your home has to be priced right if you're a seller. If you overprice, you end up spending time chasing the market. So let's say you should have listed for $300,000 and you end up listing for $310,000. Nobody comes to see the home because you're overpriced, because buyers know that, buyers agents know that. They know they can get a similar home for around $300,000 or maybe a little less. Why are they going to come see your home, especially if you're in one of those new home communities? And so then your home sits. Well, now you decide, okay, we haven't had any activity in a few weeks, it's time to drop the price. So you drop the price to $300,000, which is where it should have been in the first place. Hopefully you drop to $300,000, which is where it should have been in the first place. So now you could argue you're priced right, but your home has been on the market for a month, let's say. Well, now buyers think there's something wrong with the house, so they're not going to pay full price or full market value for a home they believe there's something wrong with. So you're chasing the market down. You're better off starting lower. So that $300,000 home, if you'd have started at $295,000, you'd have been off the market, so you'd have been sold already. And if you do the $310,000 to the $300,000 and now you're chasing the market down, maybe you end up with $290,000, $285,000. So you actually cost yourself money by aiming too high for your price. So you're much, much better being conservative on listing in the price you list your home for. Home still needs to be in great condition. You need to take care of things that need to be taken care of. Your home needs to be move-in ready. That's what buyers are looking for. But you don't want to be in a position listing your home and chasing the market downwards, because it's going to cost yourself money in the long run. It's the best advice I can give you with this current market. Again, we're in a correction, not a crash. It's not semantics. There's a very big difference. We are not seeing home values drop significantly. We are not seeing homes not selling at all. In fact, the change in Winter Haven, there was no change in closed sales. It was the same as last year. The drop in Polk County was 1.6%, which is not a significant number. So that's the best advice I can give you as buyers and sellers. I hope you found this information helpful. As always, if you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell or invest here in Central Florida, I love to help. Remember, you can't miss with Chris. Have a great day, everybody.